we got cut off, but talking about Nicki Minaj and the Beyonce, and I was just basically saying, I feel like it's her behavior that is sparking more of the conversation. Well, I can't even say that. The reason why she said what she said to me in that song is because of the way that she shows up, which is based off of her behavior, which has been criticized for some time now. And clearly, not only with a fan base of people that are, because just because we have something to say against the way that she acts does not necessarily mean that we're all not fans of hers. It's just that we're not a fan of her behavior, right? We're not a fan of the way that she shows up, which can also probably be bad for business. And clearly she's said these things as far as she's talked about the Grammys and radio outlets and all these other people she feels like have tried to blackball her or, you know, look down upon her. But I don't know, it would be great to see a more gracious, a more gracious, I think, a different Nicki Minaj, somebody that shows up that's a little bit more likable, who is more welcoming. And I don't get that from her. I get more of too much of an attitude, too much of an arrogance, too much of there's only space for me and nobody else. And I don't know, it's just weird to witness.
Yeah, we can't conflate the 2 points. I think it could be this, and I think the reality of it is she threw out a fact about Beyonce having two parents who were heavily involved in her career. And it is true. You can't deny that that wasn't helpful, but that still does not excuse Nicki's behavior towards people. She does not have to let, her upbringing or maybe her lack of support, as a youngster be the reason why she can't be a better human being and be a more likable person, be a more gracious person, and help those that come after her. So, it's an opportunity hopefully for her to grow. I'm glad people are pushing back, but I see her perspective, but that's not an excuse for the reason why, she is seen the way she's seen.
Yeah. And to fans, like the Barbs, I know y'all love her to death or whatever the case may be, but I think that the way that you guys even show up, it makes her behavior more acceptable to her, because she knows that regardless of what she does, she's going to always have this huge fan base of support who 9 times out of 10 also think and or move the same way that she does. Or it's almost as if you guys are so influenced that you cannot see outside of the bullshit, right? You cannot call a thing or hold her accountable for the way that she shows up. And I think that that's important, that we do that in our everyday life, just in general. If somebody, I'm pretty sure people have people in their circle or in their family that they don't like the way that they show up, right? And so they want to have these conversations. Why can't you hold your favorite artist to that same standard? That's all I'm saying.
Hey, amen.
We should be able to do better. Know better, you do better. That's what I'm yeah. And while we're talking about entertainment stuff, we can dive right into a few movies that I thought were pretty amazing that, we went and seen. One being Rustin. Rustin is an amazing movie and it's on Netflix. I don't remember if we did or didn't talk about Rustin.
I don't think we talked about it, no.
We probably didn't, but you can explain it better than I can.
I don't know. You're the king at explaining things. So I would say Bayard Rustin has always been one of my greatest heroes. And he was a legend in the civil rights movement. He was the man behind the March on Washington. He was the brains behind that. And he's never really gotten the limelight or the respect that he deserved because he put his sexuality at the back burner on things so he can focus on the movement and the civil rights movements. He didn't want that to be a distraction from what was happening. And so he never really got the credit that he deserved. Now, the Obamas and some other really amazing people made an incredible story about his life and talking about his friendship with Dr. Martin King Jr. He is the one who taught MLK about nonviolence. They had a very close relationship, and it got fractured because of politics and Not, MLK at that time period, not wanting to be maybe correlated with another gay man at the time period, but they come full circle in the movie. You got to see it, but it's a very powerful movie. And I'm glad someone made it, because I had wanted to make that movie. That is the one movie I wanted to make, but there's no reason to make it. It's amazing. So
it is an amazing movie. Go see it. If you haven't seen it yet, it's available on Netflix. Amazing movie, and I am predicting that he will get an Oscar.
Who will get an Oscar?
Colman Domingo. Maybe, even if he doesn't win the Oscar, but at least a nomination. I feel
we already said Coleman played Bayard. We said that, right?
Right.
Right. So he played Bayard Rustin, and he did a hell of a job.
Well, I guess I didn't say that.
But we said it now.
Colman Domingo, yes. So shout out to Colman Domingo. Amazing job in that movie. Another movie that we seen early on in advance was The Color Purple, which isn't based completely off of the original movie. It's based off of the play and the musical. And I thought they did a great job with that as well. Also, some Oscar-worthy moments. Just some Oscar-worthy moments. So hopefully that happens for that movie as well.
Yeah, for sure. You got all black cast, you got black producers, creating this amazing movie. So I think they did a wonderful job of creating and redoing The Color Purple and putting its own spin on it. And you have some breakout stars in the film, so go check it out.
And while they've been on the press run of doing The Color Purple, Taraji P. Henson has opened up the floodgates of a lot of what she's experienced. And every interview I feel like that I've watched of hers has been so heavy. So maybe doing this press run has been therapeutic in a way as well for her, because the way that she is showing up, the way that she is advocating for herself and for others, and vocalizing some of the conditions and some of the treatment that she's received being such a seasoned actor, you know what I mean, in this point in her life. And it's very interesting because TMZ caught up with Vivica A. Fox and asked her about her experience and if she can relate to what Taraji was saying. And her response also sparked social media outrage, because what she said was pretty much, I'm fine, I've never experienced anything like that. Pretty much my pay has been great, my experience has been great, I have no complaints. So as which she's entitled to, right? I mean, that's her experience. But I think what we wanted to hear, what people wanted to hear is, however, I stand with Taraji, because even if I feel like I've been given my just due, there are hundreds or, maybe thousands of other black women who have not, who have, have had to try to fight a little harder to get paid what they're worth, who have tried to show up in certain spaces where they say that they're not, where they can't show up in, who have, tried to do this, that, and the other, and it didn't happen for them. I just think that her response for a lot of people wasn't, there's never a right or wrong response, right? When you're saying some things like this, but I think having a little bit more empathy would have made her response go further than what it did. Instead, it caused a lot of backlash.
Do I believe that being black in Hollywood is not an obstacle? Then being a woman in Hollywood is not an obstacle? And then being black and a woman, that she hasn't faced any discrimination? Probably not. So it's a little surprising that she would make that particular statement. I wonder what her angle is. I wonder what people around the industry are saying about Taraji P. Henson. Are people going to be less likely to work with her? Is this Vivica just really looking out for herself and saying what she thinks, the people who run Hollywood want to hear, to make herself seem like easier to work with? We already know what happened with Monique. Monique, she got blackballed because she was labeled difficult to work with. And so I wonder, was there an angle behind what Vivica A. Fox said? Maybe it is her truth, but it's hard to believe when so many black women have came out and said the same thing. So many black actresses and so many women in general have said there's not equal pay in Hollywood. It's not equal pay in corporate America. We all know that to be a fact. So to me, the Vivica I know is unhinged, says whatever. But also, Vivica may be an opportunist in certain ways. I'm going to take this opportunity to show myself in a different light than Taraji P. Henson. Maybe if a production company has an opportunity to choose between me and her and they think about who they want to work with, maybe I might seem like an easier person. This is really intriguing. And I didn't know that until you just said that she said what she said. In terms of she's always been treated well in Hollywood and got fair pay.
And maybe it was just fair up to her standards of pay, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she was just okay with what they were giving her because it was something is better than nothing, being seen and being in this role. Now, what we won't do is diminish who Vivica A. Fox is as a talent, because what I've seen is people trying to diminish her as a talent, saying that's because she's never been with Taraji P. Henson. To be very clear, Vivica has been in some of the biggest movies. She has been an A-list actress or actor, whatever you want to call it. And not only that, Vivica started off very young in her career on soap operas, and then was not only on that, but then on sitcoms, and then grew from that. So she's always been in the business for a very, very long time, majority of her life. So you cannot downplay who she is as a force, right? Because there was a Not Now movie that was coming out, I remember growing up, that we didn't see, black movie that Vivica was not in, that we didn't rush to the movie theater to see a Vivica Fox movie. Like, let's just be very clear about that. So we cannot downplay who Vivica Fox is and the accomplishments that she has made, and she's opened some doors just from doing what she's done. Just because we don't like, or some people don't really like the way that she responded to that question.
I think sometimes people are in different headspaces, and maybe Vivica is in a headspace where she is focused on being grateful. She does realize she's had an amazing career, and she is grateful in this moment. And Taraji could be in a different space where she's seeing, this young talent, Fantasia, and the other actresses being mistreated on set, or not having certain level of accommodations that she's used to having on set. And so she was triggered by these things. So maybe 5 or 10 years from now, Taraji P. Henson could be in a different space, but I think we can hold two conflicting views. I mean, we don't have to pit people against each other.
Right.
Like, we always have to try to do that. Vivica has her perspective, Taraji has her perspective, and they both could be true.
And that's what I hate about us as a culture, us as a black people, is our go-to is to pit each other against each other. It's to bash and tear down one to lift the other up. When we don't have to do that, they can both be equals on the same playing field, but it's just two different opinions about, them and what they've done. It doesn't make one greater than the other. And I think that that's such a toxic behavior that we have seen, especially since social media has opened up a voice, because that's what it is. It's opened up a voice of a people that didn't have a voice before. And now there's a voice where you're able to say all of these harsh things, and then people feed into that instead of us really rooting for each other and, and continuously building up each other. I don't know.
My issue with social media, my issue with where we are in this world is there's no space for complexity. There's no space for nuance. There's no space for independence. So if you're a Democrat, you have to agree with every single point the Democrats have. Like, even from a financial perspective, from a tax perspective. Like, you can agree with Democrats on a social issue, but if you disagree from a tax perspective, from a business perspective, then people are going to throw hate on you. Like, just because we're black or just because they're black women doesn't mean they're going to have the same opinion about every single thing. And there's no reason to be hostile towards another person who has a different opinion, although they may align on a bunch of other issues. This may be just one area where they may disagree. So I always try to challenge people, and we need to challenge each other we all don't think alike. We're individuals, and we're not going to be aligned on every single issue. In a relationship, you're not going to be aligned on every single issue. We're different people, and it's okay. Just respect each other's opinion. Now, did Vivica get on there and bash Taraji and say anything negative about her? She gave her space to say what she, how she felt. And so she was just stating her perspective, which because she could have easily gone and said, what the hell is Taraji talking about? Like, and attacked her. But she didn't. She just stated her experience in Hollywood and how she perceives it right now. Probably maybe 5 or 10 years ago, she felt like Taraji. So let's give space for everybody to be themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And to circle back real fast, because we forgot to throw in this movie before we end this video, the Renaissance movie.
Yeah.
Right? The Renaissance movie. So of course, as you've seen in the previous video, that we did attend the concert 2 times, but we went to see the Renaissance movie, and everybody can't be Beyonce. Like, and I think we get that. However, I think that we all have, so we go back to Nicki Minaj's lyrics as far as, you know, daddy wasn't a businessman, mama wasn't no business owner. Got it. Mm-hmm. So everybody doesn't have that upbringing. Some of us come, like I speak for myself, single mom, struggling household, like it was not the easiest. But then you realize that even though you may have not been dealt a hand in the beginning, you're still the master of your abilities at some point in life. You get to make some choices. And sometimes you don't find out just how much of an impact your choices make on your life until you reach a certain age and you start to grow into your own. And so then you become a little bit more maybe responsible, and you start to have more self-discipline and ambition and motivation. And so witnessing the Renaissance movie and what it took to come up with what she said, this was 4 years in the making, 4 years of time invested, you know, motivation plus time equals success. She's motivated already. We see that. She spent 4 years coming up with this concept, building this out of the world stage and presentation of a concert, of a tour, of an album, of a release, of just everything, visuals, anything. And then boom, there's the success. And so all of us have, if we have motivation, we all have some time, but will it equal success depending on what we've chosen to pour ourselves into? And what Renaissance did for, I think, a lot of us is it inspired us and it gave us hope that if we show up with the same drive, if we put in the same type of work ethic and be as ambitious, will we be Beyonce? No, but that's a blueprint of what we can accomplish and do.
It gives us every opportunity to be successful. Does that guarantee success? No, but we're putting ourselves in the best position in terms of if you work hard, if you treat people right, and that goes back to the Nicki Minaj thing. Just treating people right in this industry, any industry, is so important because you need people to help you to get to where you are. Beyonce has a team of people, you know, and she has a plethora of relationships, business relationships that support her into being who she is. So she cultivates all of that. You see that. You see how she tricks people throughout the film. And it is a reminder of hard work, treating people kindly, being a professional, what life could be like. I mean, what opportunities you can give yourself just by doing those things. I was super inspired because a lot of times we see the final product. We got to see the making of the final product, and it took a lot of hard work, a lot of obstacles she had to overcome. And she's so detail oriented. She's so heavily involved. And so I think it made me realize you got to be patient.
Oh yeah.
You know, because things just don't happen overnight, you know. And so
and sometimes that's what we want. We want overnight success, especially this generation of children. They want the microwavable success. You put it in there and it's done within 2 minutes, it's done within 5 minutes. And that's just not the reality of how people got to where they are. You know, I think you think that by looking at it now, like, oh, I can do that. And you can do that, but it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time and more work and more drive. And you got to stay disciplined and you can't give up, and you got to hold yourself accountable and you got to keep going. And then eventually you get to reap what you sow. And this is what this movie also, I think it shows us, is this doesn't happen overnight. You know, putting together something so monumentous, so big, so legendary does not happen overnight. It took a lot of work to get to where she was last year for us to see the final product of that. And even within that, she said every single show she was critiquing and wanting to do something different the next show and go harder. Well, I didn't like that. I didn't like the way I hit that. No, I didn't like the way who does that?
Yeah.
You know? And so she said up until the very last show, that was it. Up until the very last show did she critique herself. And that's crazy. And make certain adjustments and changes, and people just don't have that type of work ethic and drive. And for her mind to be that way, it's inspiring. It's very inspiring.
And you see that it's inspiring to her daughter, Blue.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when, you know, they highlight her in the movie, initially she has anxiety, she's afraid. And when she does her first performance, she receives some backlash. And people are critiquing her, being hard on her. But guess what? That made her want to go harder. That made her want to work harder. And you see how she improved throughout the tour. She got better and better and better. And so that was really great to see as well.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, even if you haven't went to the concert, watch the movie, because it's more than just the concert. It's giving you so much more to think pieces. It's giving you a little bit more of hope. It's giving you some things that you may not have even thought that you needed from watching a Beyonce production. And it's inspiring. It's just, at the end of the day, the best word to use is just, you will be inspired.
You'll be inspired. And I love that she was really giving people a space to be themselves. Like, if you look at the demographics of her audience, you know, people were able to just come as they are, however they want to come. And really, I feel like Renaissance was about liberation, was about being free. And that's what I took from it. Just be free, be who you really are. And this is Beyonce stepping in more into who she really is.
Yes. Walking into a version of yourself that is not to please other people, a version of yourself to where you're not a serial people pleaser, a version of yourself to where your Renaissance is your release of who you are, and acknowledging who you are, loving who you are, and empowering who you are, and not shying away and hiding who you are. And just like you said, that freedom of just, this is me. Either you can accept it and love it, or you don't have to, but I'm happy with myself. And so check out that movie. Yeah, the Renaissance movie is really good.
For sure.
Yeah. So we thank y'all so much for tuning in to this episode. We're going to come right back with another video because we behind, you know. And so, yeah, we'll see y'all in a few. All right. Peace.